All right, Steph.
Missing our fearless leader.
She said we can start without her.
Oh, she did?
She went to
Okay.
get some snacks for supper.
Okay. Well, we are back in session, and we are going to begin the appointments to the Jefferson County Development Authority, and we have,
Do we need an official motion to come out of executive
yes,
session?
we do.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
move it.
Second.
Moved and second to come out of executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're out of executive session. Jane?
Madam President, I believe Mr. Lutz had an appointment and he
wants
wanted
to-
to speak for 30 seconds.
That's right. Come on,
Okay.
come on down, Dan.
Please forgive my slowness. This knee is a result of the shutdown. Ain't as funny as it sounded. Briefly, what I told Commissioner Tabb, and she transmitted to you, I'll be 7.5 minutes will not be enough, and as a courtesy to the people who have waited so long and to the commission, if you will advance my time on the agenda to the meeting on the 31st, I'd like to present then. And I have two things I'd just like to share with you, and I'll get out of here, at least for this agenda. Mr. Talbert made a very wonderful presentation about the courthouse. I have an offer for the commission and the county. I will make available the script of the stage play I have written about the treason trial of Bill Blizzard to the county without royalty or honoraria, with the proceeds of the staging of the play to be dedicated to the preservation and the renovation of the courthouse. 100 years, there'll be 100 years since the trials opened in 2022, and it looks as though we may be able to dovetail with Mingo and Logan counties to have their stories told alternately in the courtrooms, which will make money for everybody. Now, and the other thing, I listened to Mr. Allen speak, and some of the things which he spoke of paying consulting fees for, such as agricultural hazards, we do through the Farm Service Agency and the Conservation District. And you're already paying for it, so why hire a consultant to plow the same field twice? I thank you. Let you get on to your mode of agenda.
Thank you. All right, the plan this evening is we are going to conduct the interviews. It's going to be in 2 stages. We are going to listen to what you have to say tonight during the interview. We're going to ask you questions. And then after this evening, we're going to pick, I guess, the top, each of us will pick the top 3. And we will submit survey questions to those top 3, whoever they might be. It might not, I mean, if some of us pick the same people, there won't be 15 people. But
Patsy, how many do we need to pick? I mean,
we need to, there are openings for 6.
I would suggest we each pick at least 6.
Okay, each of you can pick 6, and then
Yeah.
we'll send survey questions to each of those people, and then we'll call you back in, and we'll make the decision as to who we will appoint at that time. So, but we're going to go forward with the interviews tonight, and I have people that are on the list that said they would be here, and then there are people that didn't respond, but I'm going to go down the list, and if you're here, just come on down and we'll begin asking you the questions. And the first person that I have, Mike, did Mike Brittingham leave? Yes. Okay, so, and Scott Rogers isn't here, Mike Tolbert's here, but Mike is an appointee recommendation from the city of Charlestown, and so we can, because he is a recommended appointee, do we go through the same process with
Well, I
him?
should ask him a couple questions.
Sure. Okay, come on down, Mr. Tolbert. Hi. Thanks for sticking around. It's been a long evening. Okay. Well, Charlestown recommended you, along with Mayor Scott Rogers and Mike Brittingham. Mr. Brittingham did submit a note to the commission stating that he just put his name in because he had to have 3 people from the city. So tell us why you want to be on the board. Give us a rundown.
I've lived in the county, and I've lived in Charlestown. I love both. I really do. As an elected leader, however, being on city council for the last 4 years, what I found is that I believe we do not, as elected leaders, monitor what's going on as much with our appointeds, to be frank with you. And the other problem is that then those appointeds then hire people, staff, and it gets further and further where the electeds sometimes do not know what the staff are doing because the appointeds don't know. So I would like to be on the Development Authority because I would like to help not fix that problem, but deal with that problem. More transparency, obviously. But the other thing I think you have to set goals. As elected leaders, you have to say, this is what you want your appointed folks to do. And then those appointed folks then hire the folks they want to accomplish that. Sometimes I get the sense it's the other way around, where the folks who are hired or the folks that are appointed then bring issues back to the electeds and say, this is what we've done. And I think that happened here, honestly, in terms of the Rockwool thing. And I don't fault them for it, but you've got to put electeds into the middle of this. And you've got to say, these are our visions, these are our goals. Now, the one thing Charlestown, the city of Charlestown did do, we voted on and approved 12 recommendations, guidance, things that we would like our Jefferson County Development Authority representative to remember: transparency, taking a leadership position, outreach, openness, all like that. And we've submitted that to all the municipalities, and I believe we've sent copies to you. And that's where the city of Charlestown's going. The other problem is that everyone has a comprehensive plan. And in this case, as far as I know, none of those comprehensive plans said dealt with heavy industry. City of Charlestown's plan does not conceive of heavy industry. Yet we're on this board, which then in some way, we had a representative in some way. We're now dealing with a heavy industry that within the concept of Charlestown's comprehensive plan is not, nor any other comprehensive plans that we can find. And so I'm just saying I would like to get on there and help sort some of this out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Sure.
but I do have a follow-up. And,
Sure.
and I read in the newspaper that you're not going to run for another term on the city council, which
Right.
means that you'll only be able to serve until May. And so I guess after May, we'll be making another appointment from the city of Charlestown.
You will, yes. Unless there is some provision that says that the city of Charlestown or a municipality can appoint someone that's off of, not a member of that municipality.
But we probably need verification from the city that they want you to serve.
Yeah, so historically, for the cities, it's been their city manager, for Charlestown and Ranson anyway. And it can be anyone who lives in the city limits. It doesn't have to be an elected official, but that's up to the city. The city may want an elected person on their board. So it would be up to the city to say they want him to continue serving even though he may no longer be an elected council member.
You know, there is an election coming up. There'll be 4 for folks, and so they'll relook at that again. And I would love serving a longer term, but I honestly do think, you know, we electeds kind of have to start watching a little bit more about what's going on with our appointeds. And that's not a criticism, because we are in the same boat too. But
Other questions?
It's probably, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, why don't we start at this end and we'll come up. Go ahead, Jane.
This wasn't working either.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm sorry to see that you're not running again, but I do appreciate you coming forward and entering into thoughtful discussions on moving forward. So thank you.
Do you have anything for him? Okay.
My question is probably for Stephanie. The city appointee, say Mr. Tolbergat or Mr. Brittingham, is there a time period for them to serve? Or is it just the city makes their change?
I think they have an expiration, their term
2020.
expires, yeah.
I anticipate probably most of the questions will get answered down the line, so when you get to me, probably it's, my only thing, give me in a few sentences what your vision for Jefferson County is going forward.
Jefferson County has a 10% poverty rate. Charlestown has a 10%. Ranson has a 20% poverty rate. Nothing that I've seen in any of these proposals or anything say that, you know, Rockwell was supposed to hire Jefferson County residents. You're putting a facility out in the middle, basically in Kearneysville, almost to Shepherdstown. Hard to access. Many of the people that need jobs, that need full employment, aren't going to be able to even get to that facility. I think personally where I will work for, not only outreach and transparency, but also simply looking at employment in this county. How can we get more people to jobs so that they don't have to borderline poverty or 20% above poverty? It's all jobs. And where those jobs come from, hopefully they're clean jobs. And I want development in the county. But if you start from, let's try to get, look at it from the people that you're bringing in that you want to hire. And I think that's where I will start.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next person is Jennifer King. Good evening. They're on
thing
the
on?
list that we
Okay.
got by sequential order. Yeah, I mean, they're on the list
put
that we
all
got.
ours in these-
Yeah,
yeah.
Jessica did the list for us. Hi, Ms. King.
How you doing?
Fine. Thank you for your interest in applying for the Development Authority Board.
Thank you.
Tell us why you want to be on the board. What is your, well, I'll let Josh ask his own question, but tell us why you want to be on the Development Authority.
I am a small business owner in Kearneysville in agriculture, so those are going to be, I would like to be my two main focuses for the JCDA. I think I can speak personally for both of those areas, and I do notice, and this isn't just a Jefferson County problem, this is a nationwide problem as far as small business goes, and there not being any help really as much as bigger businesses get for small business. And I know personally I've tried to reach out for help through, is this thing working?
Yeah,
right?
you're working. Yeah, you're
Okay.
coming in loud and clear.
I've personally tried to reach out for help through the, Small Business Administration, and I really didn't get anywhere. I've spoke to other individuals. They've had similar problems. I'm not sure what the problem is. I'd like to find out. And that requires me going around to every business in Jefferson County using my own gas money and time. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to assess, the situation. Well, first I'd have to get in and assess if any type of projects like this has already been done, and I don't want to recreate the wheel in any way. So see what has been done and maybe try to fix it. and agriculture. Let me get to that one. You know, I've lived in Jefferson County most of my life, and Jefferson County is born and raised on agriculture. And I have watched it disappear for one reason or the other for many decades. And most of the time, I believe it's, you know, farmers getting older, just selling out. Their kids don't want to take the farm over, and so the easiest thing is to divide it up. So we've lost a lot of farmland, and that is a shame. We are actually living in a food desert, and that's very scary to realize that we, you know, we're depending on Walmart for our food. So.
Commissioner Tabb?
Okay, and I'll be asking most everyone this question because I can't always tell from the addresses. I'm very interested in, since there's municipal representatives on the JCDA board, I want to get people that are county residents. So your address is Carneysville, and that, like, I know covers a lot of territory.
Oh, yeah.
But,
And that's another, I'd like, you know, for these unincorporated areas to have a voice.
right.
We're not really, we don't have many voices, so.
That was, yeah, you're just bringing up the point of my question. And also, I just want to let you know, I know there's a business coach at the Jefferson County Development Authority. He may be helpful. We do have that tool available. So,
I've tried that route and it didn't work, so.
all right.
Caleb, you have anything?
I don't want to steal Josh's thunder.
Ralph?
That's for last, man.
I just have, somebody brought it up earlier, and if you look over Mixed Deals head, there's a future land use guide for Jefferson County, our comprehensive plan. Are you familiar with that at all?
I have looked at it. I haven't studied it in depth, but I've looked at a lot of stuff recently.
I would just ask if you are being considered for it, that you look at that and see what, because quite honestly, the county spent a lot of money and put a lot of hours into.
That's what, again, that's been one of my biggest thorns in my side, is all these studies that have been performed by the county, and I hope we can use them. So.
And I guess a question will come up, so I'll ask you. You're in the bee industry, the honey industry. Somebody's going to ask you, are you totally against any industry, or are you just...
No,
Okay.
no. Well, I think first and foremost, we need discussion, communication, transparency, first and foremost. And then we can see where our problems are from there. And it's all, okay, so pesticides, that's a huge problem as far as the beekeeping industry goes. And I know personally, we've had hives in the orchard for years and have never had a problem. And I just always tell beekeepers, you need to communicate with the farmer to see when they're spraying, what they're spraying. Maybe the farmer doesn't even know the bees are there, you know, so he needs to be aware. Of course, he should be a good steward to the land and spraying when he's supposed to and what he's supposed to. But, you know, it's a two-way street, communication.
Just a quick thing to Commissioner Tabb's point. If you could say if you live in a current municipality prior to interview, it may help. I don't want to overstack a specific municipality. I want all these unincorporated areas to have voices also, like you mentioned. So just quick, not a long thing out, what's your vision for Jefferson County going forward? A very small statement, nothing.
To preserve the rural living, the agriculture, tourism, the historic value, basically almost everything we've had, but we do definitely need business. We do. I mean, I used to be one of those commuters that traveled to Reston and Crystal City every day. I know what that commute's like. And you see taillights going out of the county every morning. You know it. I think this discussion, I can't believe we're still having this discussion, quite frankly. I mean, for 30 years, we've known this has been a problem. So we need business, but smart business, you know.
I just have one follow-up. Do you support the Jefferson County Vision and their lawsuit against the Development Authority?
As far as the pilot agreement goes?
No, there are 4 lawsuits.
Okay, was that,
Do you support the Jefferson County Vision in their lawsuits against?
and then they did not want to release FOIAs?
No, I'm just asking if, no,
Which one?
any of them.
I absolutely do support the pilot agreement, and I know that's probably going to be a big,
You support the lawsuit involving the pilot?
yes, I think it's unfair taxation,
Thank you, I
and,
just wanted a yes or
yeah.
no answer.
And
Thank
it's
you, I appreciate it.
taxation without representation.
Thank
so.
you, I'm going to ask the same thing of everybody, so
Yeah.
just have your answers ready. Thank you. Okay, next up is Jamie Haddon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Jamie Haddon here, Haddon, Hadden? No? All right. Laura Anderson? Hello. Hi.
I am a resident of Bolivar.
Oh, thank you.
Well, don't we need a representative from Bolivar?
But it's supposed to come from 3 people that are
Oh, that's right.
recommended by the council.
You might want to talk to your city council.
They haven't sent us names. So I don't
Yeah,
think
that
they were
doesn't mean
part
that
of the
you're not, it
conversation.
doesn't mean that you couldn't do it, it just means the city council is supposed to send us 3 names, which they
They
have.
are, okay. I wasn't sure how that worked.
But are we allowed to point
I thought
anybody
you're
outside
discluded from
in the
this.
city
Sure,
for
I
other
understand.
positions?
Yes.
So we should at least interview her
Yeah.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to interview her, absolutely,
You
so.
got 2 shots at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Development Authority.
Well, I've had a number of different occupations in my life, everything from breeding racehorses to I currently breed sheep. I currently work also for a real estate developer, and I've worked for the Virginia Tech. I've worked for the U.S. government in the Department of Army. So I have a broad range of experience. I've never been a political activist type person, but since things have evolved in the past few years, I've realized that citizens do have to stand up for their rights in their, where they live and get involved if they want to see things change. I'm very much interested in staying in Jefferson County. I lived here. I came from Fairfax County originally, bred and born there. Moved to Loudoun County, moved further west to Charlestown in about 2002. Went out to Berkeley County about 2 years ago, sold that house, and chose to come. I could have gone anywhere at that point, but chose to come back to Jefferson because I really loved the area. And so I'd like to see the county thrive. I'd like to see people in the county prosper. I do think that we need to have smart business and smart development. I don't think that heavy industry is the way, personally, that I think the county should go, but I'm always one to look at all the options and throw my hat in the decision-making process and go from there, whatever's best for the county.
And I'll go ahead and ask you the question now. Do you support the Jefferson County Vision and any of their lawsuits against the development?
I have kind of left that up to the Jefferson County Vision. I haven't really read the lawsuits to see whether it's something I personally agree with or not.
Okay, thank you. Jane?
I see that you work in real estate. Do you foresee that being a problem for you as a conflict of interest on the Development Authority or not?
Well, I don't think so. I work for a builder. The division I work for is not part of Jefferson County. I'm in the Washington West Division of our company, which is Frederick County, Culpeper, that area.
Well, that's very
yeah.
good to know, so, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm skipping you. All right. Ralph?
Well, you heard me say about the plan over there. Are you familiar with that at all?
I have looked at it. I'm not, kind of like Jennifer said, I haven't studied it in depthly, but I do think that, I know that the county does have a comprehensive plan.
I would just ask if you do get selected, make sure you know a little bit about that.
I'd like to learn more about it, but I do know a little.
Josh?
I'm just going to go with the same question. Most of my questions will be answered at this point and with your resume, so I don't think I'm just like, so what's your vision for Jefferson County going forward? Short, sweet, where do you see it in 10 years, 20 years?
I would like to see Jefferson County keep the cultural aspects that it has now with the arts, the agriculture, the tourism, the history, and I think that's our strong point, especially the horse breeding and racetrack industry, which I know brings a lot of money into our county. But I'd also like to explore different ways that we can have development in a smart way.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Morgan Sell?
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you all?
Good, how are you?
Tired.
I'm sure, we all are. It's been a long day. Long day.
Yeah.
So
always a long
Morgan,
day.
tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go
Sure.
from there. Yeah.
Sure. So I am a current resident of Shepherdstown, but I'm outside of the corporate limits, and I could throw a stick at the corporate limits, but that doesn't put me inside of them, so that's why the town didn't put my name in. So I have lived here, 29 years. I grew up in my family's home outside of Shepherdstown, and since then I've decided to raise my own children here in Jefferson County, and so it's just a really beautiful full circle experience for me as a mother now of two, 5 and 1, ages 5 and 1. And so was your question also about the board? Because I heard, tell me a little bit about yourself, but what was the second part?
My second question is, do you support the Jefferson County Vision and their lawsuit against?
I don't feel like
development
I can personally answer that question. I don't have any law background. My sister, who is a lawyer, she probably could, but me, I respectfully decline answering that question because I
Okay.
don't feel confident in that
Thank you.
question, or in that question.
Okay. Jane?
Well, you've already told us where you live. What are your thoughts on how you deal with conflict with a group of people?
Okay, so as an artist, I am a problem solver in a different way than most people, so I'm constantly evaluating everybody's personality in the room. I can see that everybody's a beautiful person. Anyways, I can try to dial down all of that energy and have people listen more than they're speaking, and I find that you can learn a lot through listening. And so there's a time to speak, a time to listen, and what I've been doing more in the last 7 months is listening more than speaking. And I find that with the Development Authority, with all the conflict that is happening within that, it's really a time for listening right now. You can have so many voices coming in at each other, but that's only going to make more problems. We really need to sit down and have a full circle where we can all listen to each other.
Thank you. Ralph?
Caleb, anything?
What's your economic vision for Jefferson County?
Okay, so the JCDA wishes to increase and diversify the tax base as well as focus on tourism while working to retain and expand existing businesses within Jefferson County. And so that falls in line with where I am and what I'm passionate about, which is arts business in the county. And so while working at the Contemporary American Theater Festival, I was able to witness firsthand how this type of business has a profound positive economic impact on the state and the local level. So as a part of that 2018 study that was performed by the largest arts marketing firm in the country, CATF produced the following: $340,000 at the local level, $745,000 at the state level, and with their direct spending, $1.25 million, and then I think it was $5.86 million overall of their direct economic activity. So that's the type of development that I'm really passionate about because that's my background. I'm an artist, art educator, and so that's where I see all of tourism coming in. And you're not only just bringing in people for the arts, you're telling people to come see what we have to show you, and then they end up coming and raising their families here and starting their own businesses here as well. And so that's, I think, where my kind of heart will end up steering me anyways, because it's easy for me to do that, to work with the arts.
I think she's answered my question.
She may have answered mine, too.
Okay.
Let me throw one out real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
You,
I'm interested.
What's your opinion on economic, environmental concerns and economic, development?
Okay, so
Is there equilibrium? Should we be like this, like this? How do
So-
we meet the jobs versus the environment?
Right. So I am not gonna say that there is a job that can, okay, so there's gonna be jobs out there that hurt the environment, right? And I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with is building something that is gonna be detrimental to a county of, what is it, 50, 60,000, something like that, roughly. And so what I want is I want development. I want everything for this county. I want the heart and soul. I want my kids to grow up here and work here. And I want to spend my life here and really develop it in a way that can help all the municipalities with their vision statements and have, each of the 2035 and vision plan all come together and work together so that the unincorporated parts, the municipalities, they can all work together to have stuff that is, people are smart, and this whole thing has brought everybody together. And so people that are interested in environmentally friendly businesses like Solar Holler in Shepherdstown, things like that are up and coming. Coalfield Development down in southern West Virginia. These are places that are taking back, coal mines and providing ways for these families to develop the land in a smart way. So I think there's ways out there to have economic growth while also being environmentally conscious. I'm not saying that you're always going to be solar friendly and growing grass on top of your roof, but you're
There needs to be equilibrium.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
has
to be
to
frank, I don't think you'll ever see at Rockville in this county, depending on whatever happens to Rockville currently, another industry, I'd be hard pressed to see if that came in after all this. So,
Well, there's definitely going to be more of a conscious effort from the community to be more of an active participant in the local government. And I promise you, I will always be part of the local government from here on out. Thank you so much.
Ms. Tab, are you here? Oh, okay.
we're all asleep a little bit over here.
Okay. Hi there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Development Authority.
Okay, I am a Shepherdstown resident, but I do not live in the historic corporation of Shepherdstown. I am at a point in my life where I have the time to serve my community, and I see this as a place where I could potentially fit in and provide a benefit to my community. Being on the outskirts of the corporation of Shepherdstown, I'm not able to serve on their boards or their council, so that is why I'm coming to the next best place.
So the next question I have for you is, do you support the Jefferson County Vision and their lawsuit against the Development Authority?
Jefferson County Vision is its own entity. I don't communicate with them in making their decisions. They don't come and ask me for input. So what they do, I don't believe that that is something that that there should be a conflict for any of us in this room, because they're their own entity.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my turn, and I have the same last name as you do, but I don't believe we're related in any way, and I just want to make that clear to everybody.
Full disclosure.
And hopefully someday we can talk and maybe trace family back and figure out if we were distantly related. Anyway, with that, how do you resolve conflict in a group setting? What's your approach to that?
Many times I find myself standing back and listening and taking all input into consideration. to make educated decisions moving forward. We're always going to be faced with conflict, especially at this point in time. I just try to handle it the best that I can and avoid it. I'm not one that goes seeking it out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Would there be any conflict with the scheduling of the meetings that you know of?
No, I don't believe so.
Again, I asked, are you familiar with the comprehensive plan at all?
I have read through it. I have seen lots of documentation relating to it. As I had mentioned in my public comment, I see through other previous meetings how people are held accountable to it, whether they come before the zoning board and they're requesting use of land, and it has been notated whether or not it is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. Others have mentioned where they as well have not seen, heavy industry in it. So, and it's, even though it was adopted, there's been many times comments that it's not law. So I can't say that I fully understand the scope of it as to, again, yes, I think that there was a lot of community input.
Conundrum, or whatever that term is.
Yeah, a conundrum. Yes.
It's going to be a long night.
Yes.
Early, man.
But when you ask what are people's visions, to me, I feel like that is in part what maybe got us into this mess, was individual plans and not the comprehensive plans of the community. So I don't ask to serve on the board to push forth any personal agenda. I want to serve my community and help it prosper.
Just one quick thing. Do you think, whether it's the county commission, the state government, federal, local boards, do you think having an even split of opposing views is the best way to do it? Because when those even split people agree on something, it's probably usually a good thing, rather than stacking one board with one view and vice versa.
Well, I think having multiple viewpoints, I mean, when you're on any of these committees or boards, you have to either have a unanimous decision or the majority prevail. If you don't have opposing viewpoints, you're not going to be looking at all facets of the problems, and not only problems, but just pathways moving forward. So I do think it's good to have a diverse group. Working together is key, though.
I do have you served on any boards, committees, or anything where you've had to deal with multiple personalities?
Through my church organizations, I've sat on a parish council, and I've sat on, I am currently a member of a committee through my church. In previous workplace situations, I had led several projects where I needed to work with departments across the board. So I feel like I've had experience in project planning and working with many individuals, but I have the confidence to put myself here and feel like I can do something in my community because of the success that I felt that I've had in my professional career, that I've been able to navigate those personalities and different groups of people to lead successful projects.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don, Diego. Finally.
Good evening,
Right?
Madam President, fellow
10 o'clock.
commissioners.
Thank you for your interest in applying for the board. And I'm just going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Development Authority.
Yes, we moved here approximately 5 years ago from Frederick County, Maryland. One of the things that we did when we were looking at numerous houses over a 4-year period that we didn't do anywhere else that we did here was we pulled in the driveway and said, you know what, we're home. We didn't even walk in the house yet. Just talking to the neighbors, we stopped and had dinner in Charlestown. Everybody was just so polite and so pleasant. It was a complete opposite of the city life. So that was the way we decided we wanted to finish our kids in school. Our children, one graduated from Frederick County High School in Maryland, big disaster. One's getting ready to graduate from Jefferson High School here, and he's running a 4.25. So, I mean, just the education system, the family, the community. I decided that I need to find some way to start giving back to the community. In Frederick, it was that I was an umpire for Little League for 4 years. Well, I'm older, my knees are bad. I'm not playing in the dirt with the 12-year-olds anymore. But I do have 20 years public safety experience, Department of Defense. I am a Navy contractor currently right now. So there is numerous opportunities as Director of Development where I can take my expertise and bring it to you and hopefully benefit the community.
And the next question I have for you is, do you support the Jefferson County Vision in their lawsuit against the Development Authority?
I am familiar with the lawsuit. I am not familiar with the contents of it. So I am not able to answer you at this time.
Okay. Jane?
Let's see, my notes on, you're on my list. I made a big list, got all my things alphabetized.
I can still get on a flight, right, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've been a firefighter and EMT, and you're currently I just said you were in business management. How will you use those skills if you're working in a group, a board, and you've, I'm sure, had to deal with conflict? So tell me
Numerous times, ma'am.
How you would approach that in a this is volunteer board, it's very different than a fire department or something where there's a hierarchy. So tell me your approach.
I think that anytime there's a conflict, you need to just step back out of the equation, see what's going on with both sides, because most often there's a conflict and they're talking the same thing. So by standing back and actually observing, I feel like I could interject and kind of calm things down and make them realize that they're both fighting for the same cause. We're not enemies. There's no reason that we have to go to fisticuffs. So usually just talking people down usually works. One of the things that I experienced as a firefighter, I was on the PA1 disaster team for NDMS under FEMA, and we responded to Katrina. Everybody is aware of Katrina and how bad that was. One of the things I did was my wife thought I was stationed in D.C. So she had no idea I was actually in New Orleans. But there were many times where you would come across just large crowds fighting over something trivial, like a television. You don't have electricity. You don't need TV to live. So at that point, we would just call in some support and bring in some actual aid that they did need. And then in short order, they were lining up, getting the water, getting the cots, getting the blankets, and separating from the area. So if you give them what they need or what they actually do want that they don't know they want, it helps out.
Thank you.
And to answer your question, I'm actually out of the Shiloh division off War Admiral, Hornets Nest Court.
Okay.
And Caleb doesn't have anything? Okay.
Same question I had about the comprehensive plan. Have you familiarized yourself with that yet?
I've reviewed it. I have not studied it. But if you have questions for me and I'm called back for a second interview, I'll be happy to answer them.
And then I guess a question, since you said you're in Shiloh, you're adjacent to the Development Authority properties. Does that cause you any problems being on the board?
It does not. We, at the Shiloh HOA, as far as I know, do not have any open litigation. I believe everything's been closed. So I do not feel that there is any OCI with it. At the same token, I didn't really notice how the JCDA were bad neighbors. Once things were amicable and there was discussions that opened up to avoid conflict, I think people started realizing what the mission was.
Same thing. What's your vision for Jefferson County? Short, sweet, 10, 20 years. Where do you see the county?
I think we need to bring in a balance, not only to protect the locality of the area, the historical, the tourism, but I think we need to bring in business that is directed towards STEM. If we can bring in science, technology, engineering, mathematic entities, I think that will further support what the curriculum at the high schools are doing, and then maybe we can actually lean a little more forward and do a cooperative agreement where we can have our STEM students, if they meet a criteria, intern with the local company. I think if we bring in that type of entity, I think that you'll see a higher return for salaries, for income, and then I think that you'll start seeing a lot more people moving into the area for that.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is Oscar Stein. Mr. Stein?
I believe I saw him leave.
Okay. Christopher Garcia. You leave? Spencer Neufeld? Good evening.
Been a long night.
It has been a long night, it has, but thank you for hanging around. And you can tell us who you are and where you live and why you want to be appointed to the board.
I'm Spencer Neufeld. I've lived in West Virginia and Jefferson County here for the last 15 years. I'm a professional engineer. I am familiar with master plans and comprehensive plans. I've done many of them myself or participated in them. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so I'm very familiar with industry and what it causes and what it looks like. And I'm old enough that I can remember back to when the water in Lake Erie was brown, where the Cuyahoga River came out into the lake. I can remember a lot of steel mills and smokestacks that contributed a lot to the pollution of the area. That's why I don't live there. Let's see. I believe that the previous people on the board were negligent in some cases, or at least did not do due diligence that they should have done, at least not that I would have done as an engineer. I think that that's something that's very important that we all have to look at as to when you want to bring something in, whatever kind of business or commercial or industry it is, there are pros and there's cons for everyone, and you have to add them up, and I don't know that that was done very well. I've worked with enough with standards and government regulations to know that just saying that you're going to meet minimum standards does not qualify as being a good project. EPA, for instance, is a political organization. It's subject to policies. And while they try to do a good job, we've experienced in the last couple of years where they've increased regulations and decreased regulations because of politics. And so you have to look beyond that and look at what you really need to do scientifically. What are those standards? stringent enough or whether they're not. And I think there are some lapses in the in my industry, in my business, a lot of the things that I do is involved with designing emergency systems for buildings, emergency generators, data centers. There are, for instance, 4 different tiers of generators, and they provide 4 different levels of pollutants, even though the emergency generators are only on for an hour a week usually, if they're done right. And you have to look at that and say, what is the best for the area, what's the best what you want to do. And of course, there's a balance between what the cost is and what you're going to get. And I understand that completely. But I also know that you have areas like California who have their own set of regulations, and they are much, much more stringent than the federal government. And so you need to look at that and say, well, why is that? Why do they have something that's a lot more? Because they had an environment problem, and that's why they did it. They went to an extreme. And so you look at Rockwell, for instance, what they're proposing, and when they're saying 200-foot smokestacks, why are there 200-foot smokestacks? There's a physical and chemical reason why they have that, and they have to disperse pollutants high enough in the air that they will do minimal damage, but it's not going to take away all the damage. And if you don't think about it, and you're not aware of those type of things, then I think you're not really contributing what society needs. So I also believe that we need to have a balance between the rural and the commercial, and with a little bit of light industry. I don't want to see myself heavy industry here. But there are other industries that are clean industries that you can attract here. For instance, data centers that would bring in high-tech people, but not necessarily have the same impact on the environment that the other industries have. And so at that point, I'll leave you open to questions for me.
Well, I just have one other question, and it is, do you support the Jefferson County Vision in their lawsuit against the Development Authority?
I'm not an activist like that. No, I don't. I'm neutral, really. I don't support it. I don't fight against it. I don't think that I don't.
Thank you. Jamie?
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I know you're an engineer, and it sounds like you've worked with groups before. You've done comprehensive plans, it sounds like, and some other
I
things.
got to correct you. He'll yell at me later. I'm an engineer. He's an architect.
Oh, pardon me, I didn't.
No, I'm not. I'm a professional engineer. I've
That's
worked
what
with
I thought
architects.
you said. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's my mistake.
All right, well, let me back up. Your address is Harper's Ferry. Are you within the municipality, or are you in the county?
I'm in Charlestown.
Am I looking at the wrong one? Chris?
I'm looking at the wrong one, what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's 32 Flag Court, Charlestown.
I live in Norborn Glebe, which is in
I
part
didn't
of
turn enough
Charlestown.
pages here.
That was why I said the wrong thing, Jane.
Okay, all right. So you're Spencer Newfield. I've
That's
got the
correct.
whole thing wrong here. And where did you say you live? Charlestown? Are you in the municipality or out? In, okay.
Not in the old area, but in Norborn Glebe, which is off of 340, and it's part of the Charlestown area.
Part of the is that part of the municipality?
This is
Yes.
Catholic Church.
Oh,
It
okay.
is.
Okay. Annexed part of Charlestown.
Those.
Okay. All right. Well, getting that out of the way, go back to my other original question, and sorry I didn't have the right name down. I think, with your experience, you've worked with groups, and how do you come out with a finished product that hopefully most everybody agrees with when you have maybe discordant opinions about where you go and what you're going to do?
Well, most engineers are taught to stand back and observe, okay? And so I don't dive right into something. I'll stand back if there's an argument, if there's a disagreement, I'll analyze what their points are and look at what their side is and what I think of mine is, and work it out in between. You know, there's sometimes you have to come to an agreement. Not everybody has the right answer.
Okay, thank you.
Caleb? Ralph?
Just the same question. Are you familiar with the comprehensive plan?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I pretty much got answered my questions. You did work at Epcot Center in Disney World, did you?
Yes, I did.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
I
It was a
never liked Disney.
once-in-a-lifetime
My wife
opportunity.
hammered it into me, so now I like it.
That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I moved the family down there to spend 3 years down there helping to build it. It was
Wow.
an amazing place, and even more amazing behind the scenes than it is in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot. That's all I have.
Thank you. I skipped over Bob Gillette. Is Bob Gillette here? Okay, Christine Edwards. Gary Davis. Mr. Davis?
That's a low seat. Good evening.
Well, I know. I feel like sometimes when I sit in,
I
I'm
should
sitting
be
on
at
the
the
floor.
casino where
Go
you
ahead.
can pump the seat up a little.
You can
Well,
sit
you
in the
can
other
pump
chair
that
if
one.
you like.
Yeah.
See, you're putting someone at a disadvantage already. Now,
I was going to say,
Yeah, there you go.
can you
might
get under
even
the
be a little
table? There you
taller
go.
now.
Okay.
It makes me feel better already.
That's right.
Now, do you have Gary Davis? Everyone got it up?
Yeah.
So you got the right name?
Yes,
No,
sir.
I'm on the
So-
same page.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
all on the
Old school
same
too,
page.
man.
Well, I think. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the Development Authority.
Okie dokie. I gave you a resume. I've been married a long time, 55 years. Know how to delegate and receive.
So receive.
Retired. Retired about 21, 22 years now. Have lived here since 2008 out at Huntfield. As far as I know, I'm 77 years old, still good health. Why do I want to serve? You had an interesting question earlier about where do you want this county to go in 15, 20 years. I wish someone had asked that question 2 or 3 years ago. Okay? That's what it really amounts to. I don't think we need to plan 20 years out because most of us won't be here. I certainly won't. Things will change as they change daily, monthly, yearly. So I think you need to stay more in the immediate rather than have far-ranging plans that really, in 10 years, somebody says, oh, why did we think of that? Because we didn't think of it. What do I want to bring to the county? I have a lot of experience. I'll go over that in my resume with you. And the reason I want to go over it with you is so that I know that you know what I'm presenting. I think we need to bring good salaries. Good salaries can come with jobs that will present. They don't have to be high-paying jobs, but jobs that are in the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 range. That will lead to more small businesses coming into the area to support people that will move into town. That's what I would like to see. I'd love to see more people move into town. And we are a bedroom community. A lot of people live here because when they come over Harper's Ferry, they don't see two 200-foot stacks coming up out of the valley. Okay? They like what we have already. You can accomplish the same thing as far as employment goes, by going with lighter industry, clean industry, okay? You can just go out and ask people to come to the community, and if they see the backing that the people have that are behind me, that they're energetic to have people come here with good business plans, with good growth plans that are going to be handy to the community and support the community, I don't think you'll have any problem really bringing people to this area and businesses to the area. What's my work history? I told you I was 77. Years ago, I worked in a dirty industry, a steel mill.